Welcome to another episode of the It's Meg podcast, where I, Megan, sit down with a couple of the amazing ladies to dig up the dirt on the Undead and Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. For this episode, I've resurrected Casey, just Casey, and Ehlwyn, so we can sink our teeth into this episode called Malevolent, Revenants, and a Regiment of Prevalent, Remanent Elements.
Goddamn, nice.
Yeah, you fucking nailed that shit.
For this episode on the It's a Mimic channel, we are going to refuse to let go of the past and attack a handful of undead that have returned because they aren't finished fighting yet.
Before we get any further into this topic, I want to ask, are you a forgive and forget kind of person, or do you embrace your grudges?
I embrace my grudges like a motherfucker. I don't think you understand. I live by them.
I am not surprised.
This is facts, people. This is facts.
It's got a sliding scale. Probably mostly embrace my grudges, though.
I'd say I'm a 50-50. I am a forgive but never forget.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Is I hold on to my grudge, but I hold on to it for myself and for my own motivations. Nothing to do with you.
Well, it's kind of like the, fool me once, shame on me, fool me twice, shame on you, and die in a fire.
Fool me thrice and I'm going to burn it down.
Like you don't live in a hovel and grovel over it. Yeah. The grudge. But it's like, fuck that.
Yeah,
I also give people many chances in life.
Yeah.
I just do.
Oh, yeah. I do as well.
And then eventually...
probably to a fault.
Yeah, and then I'm just kind of like at a point where I'm just like, okay, well, this is just a repeating habit in your life. Great. I'm either going to live with this or I'm going to move on from it. And I'll make that decision for myself. But fuck you. And I also hold grudges for other people. I'm that friend that once you tell me that you don't like somebody... We don't like them.
I will fight your grandma.
And I can't, and I now have an enemy of some lady that I've never even met.
100%.
I will match your energy. I will do whatever you need me to do to make you feel supported. But, the issue is that you will never come back from it. You know that weird meme where it's just like, the guy wants to get back together with me, but I've already told my friend about you?
Yeah.
It's like, fuck.
I'm the friend that you don't want to tell mean things to, because I'll be like, well, I'm never going to like them again. So,
yes.
You're welcome. All right, well, that being said, family, today we are going to be talking about Revenants. Is going to be the big starting topic of today, and then we're going to get into a couple of really fun ones. So at first, I'm going to kind of take us through what a Revenant is, what your base Revenant is. But what it's neat to know is that these are one of the OG monsters of the 5th edition of, not 5th edition, but like D&D as a whole. You will find Revenants in every edition of Dungeons & Dragons with very slightly different things, like how long they're a Revenant for, how they become Revenants, just little tiny details. But the brass tacks of them basically stays the same. And as always, we're going to be following kind of what the 5th edition one looks like as per written. So let's get into it. These are spirits who have passed on with an inherent need for revenge, like me. So they've been slighted by a rival or a loved one to the point where their spirit decides to basically live on so that it can act upon its revenge, and its revenge is imperative to its existence. Their body raises similar to that of like a zombie, but instead of lifeless eyes, their pupils actually glitter with the spark of the I'm going to murder you for killing my chicken. Like just super gleaming eyes of I'm going to kill you. Should their body have been destroyed and unusable, they will take on the next nearest humanoid corpse. But no matter what they physically look like, the person who is targeted for revenge will recognize them.
Oh.
Which is an interesting thing. Yeah. So it's almost like it's like seeing like a
thing of your nightmares, but only you can see it.
Yeah, right? Like it looks like, in my mind, it would look like the person that you expect it to look like, but to everybody else, they look different.
Yeah.
And they're just like, oh, look at this red-haired motherfucker walking. I'm like, what are you talking about? This silver-haired fox is walking up to me and ready to murder me.
So that would kill me.
Yeah. That is a thing of nightmares.
Yeah, absolutely it is. So there are some limitations to this. Their hunger for revenge only lasts a year. If it fails on its... You're laughing at that. You get 1 year to go. 1 year. Casey's like, fuck, that sucks. If they fail at their quest, or if they succeed before the year is up, they will poof into dust and cease to exist. So either they will die after a year, or once they succeed at their mission to kill their revenge, they will disappear. They aren't dumb, though. If they are not strong enough by themselves to defeat you, like let's say they defeated this person, they became a Revenant because you are 700 times stronger than they are, they're going to build an army to kill you. They're not dumb. They're not just coming after you themselves. They're going to build an army. They're going to gain allies. They're going to start a cult saying, fuck you, Kevin. And they're going to come after you. No magic can hide you from them either. So if you are hunted by the Revenant, this is what is called their divine justice. Basically, this being knows where you are. It knows the distance and the direction that you stand. Constantly. And it's neat to note that should the Revenant be vengeful against a group of folks, because that can happen, it will kill them in a very specific order. It kills the first person it has to kill is the person that had the last blow on them. So like, let's say your team or your group killed some really strong wizard and then he died and then became a Revenant. Like, he's going to go after the barbarian that got the final kill first. Yeah. And then start going in a random order that the DM will kind of assess, I guess. But I imagine things like all I could think in my head was Final
Destiny. That's exactly what popped into my brain. Was it must be in an order.
That's the thing. It's like
death kills in order.
Death as a design. Yeah. So I was just like, that's all I could think about was this Final Destination shit, and now I want to do a Final Destination D&D,
with a Revenant.
With a Revenant. But that's them kind of like in how they operate. So let's get into their stats a little bit. So they're a medium neutral undead being. Obviously, they're kind of like a humanoid if you think about it. They have an AC of 13, an average hit point pool of 136, and a speed of 30. So they sound like a pretty mundane human being to me.
Yeah.
However, they are a CR 5. So let me tell you why that happens. So their lowest stat is intelligence at 13, and their highest is in strength, con, and charisma at 18. So they're technically above average in all things. So they are better than your regular mundane human. They have saving throws in strength, con, wisdom, and charisma. They are resistant to necrotic and psychic and immune to poison, as well as being charmed, exhausted, frightened, paralyzed, poisoned, and stunned. So basically all the fun things that come with being an undead.
Yeah.
It has dark vision up to 60 feet and a passive perception of 13. It knows all the languages that it knew in life. And right now you're probably thinking, this is kind of just slightly another buffered zombie. But it gets neat when it gets into its abilities. So they have regeneration, which regains them 10 hit points at the start of every fucking turn. Unless it takes damage from fire or radiant damage during that round. And you can only destroy the body if they are below 0 hit points at the beginning of its turn, and it can't regen back. So technically in that round, you would have to kill them with fire or radiant damage so that at the start of its turn, it can't regen, and that's the only way to destroy its body. This would be a very fun, suspenseful moment for your team, right? Like, you've killed the thing, and yet the round keeps going for some reason.
Yeah.
However... they have rejuvenation, which means that when the body is destroyed, the soul is in limbo for 24 hours. And then finds another body in the same plane of existence. So it doesn't have to just find the nearest one anymore. It can pick and choose its body from how I read it. And while in limbo, however, a wish spell can be used to send them to the darkness. So should your group be after a Revenant, finding a wish spell or a way to make a wish spell is kind of a good idea, because if you kill it, you wish it to be sent, and then it will be gone forever. It won't rejuvenate and come after you more. They also have turn immunity, which is kind of common for a lot of the more beefed up undead. This just means they're immune to being turned undead from cleric nonsense.
Right.
Then when you get down to the brass tacks, the actions, they hit you with their fists. It's a +7 to hit with an average 11 damage. But if you are their target, you take an extra 4d6 on top of that. So it's still not a lot of damage if you're just fighting a Revenant to fisticuffs it.
No multi-attack, just one hit?
Yeah, well, no, multi-attack, so it gets 2 hits with the fists.
Okay.
2 punches. So technically, if you're its target, it can do a max of, I think we're looking at about 4 or 5, so max 4, 8, 9, 10 d6 damage, max, in a round if you are the target.
Right.
Otherwise, they're just hitting you for regular shit. Yeah. However, they can choose not to deal damage and just grapple you instead. So fuck that.
Yeah.
Respectfully die to fire. They also have what's called Vengeful Glare. This means that if you are its target and you are within 30 feet of it, you have to take a DC 15 wisdom save or be paralyzed until it hits you.
Oh boy. There it is.
Or until the end of its next turn. And once you become unparalyzed, you are now frightened of them for 1 minute.
Okay.
So it still isn't very strong, in my opinion. Like, the base brass tacks of a Revenant is not very, strong.
Yeah.
So
it's not a beefy.
That's the thing. So when I read it stat block, I'm like, that seems like not as scary as what I remember Revenants being in my brain. And I feel like DMs do a lot of homebrew with their Revenants to be like, okay, well, if it's a dead paladin, they're going to have the same abilities they had in their living life, right?
Right, and have used the weapons that they had, things like that.
Yeah.
Right? So I feel like that's kind of like a homebrew thing you can add into there if you wanted to. But like...
Yeah, I think there's that, and I think, like, I've definitely seen where characters have come back as Revenants as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like, I've definitely, like, we'll get into it, like, we go through our questions and stuff like that, but there's a couple really neat ideas you can use Revenants.
Yeah.
But I feel like you have to get creative with them, because their base bones is boring as fuck.
But I also think that even though their base bones are boring as fuck, to use your words, I think that they're almost like a blank canvas, so that you can make them your own and you can kind of design them how it fits your own personal campaign. So...
Yeah, and I love that they had put it where, like, rules is written, they will build an army if they have to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They're like, okay, yes, I am this weak little gnome, but I am gonna kill that crazy wizard, and I'm gonna build this whole fucking army to go after this fucking child. Alright, choose a dice, fam. Okay. Oh, I rolled a 1?
3?
Wow!
19.
So you're gonna go first, second, third. Yeah. All right, so Ehlwyn, you're up first. So any neat quest ideas you can think of for Revenants?
Ooh, there's a lot that actually come to mind.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, you have a player that's playing a paladin or a fighter or something along those lines. They die, especially if it's like a paladin or like a cleric, something along those lines. They could definitely come back as a Revenant.
Yeah.
If they're, the resurrection that their team tried to do doesn't work, but all of a sudden next day, back in action, WTF, they don't realize that they're a Revenant, but they've got, they're just driven for that one soul.
So do you think that if they were to bring back, so say it was a party member who died, and they become back as a Revenant, do you think their revenge will be on the person that killed them, or do you think their revenge would be on the team that let them die?
It could be... See, and this is where you could add the layers.
Yeah.
Because it could be any of the two. Mm-hmm. It could be any of the two. Like you said, they are intelligent.
Yeah.
So are they going to then lead their team to their destruction, or are they just going to be solely focused on that big bad that ended them?
I'm just imagining, at the table when you're healers trying to decide who to heal that round.
Yeah.
And there's one guy lying on the ground heal me, and the other guy's on the other side be heal me, and you're like, okay, well this person's closer, I'll get you next round, bud.
Yeah.
And then next round comes around, they're dead.
They fail their death save.
Whatever, and they're gone, right? And it's kind of okay, well I will remember that.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. What about you, Casey? I think you're next, yeah.
Yeah.
Quest with you.
Yeah, this is a perfect thing to have in your back pocket to use in moments when your party does say you have a generally good or neutral party, and then they pull some murder hobo shit, and it's like, oh, I see, okay, I'm just gonna remember that, and they just haha, ooh, that may have been a bad idea, but hey, we move on.
Yeah.
And then that person comes back many a session later.
Yeah.
And maybe they are oh shit, well, oops, and kill them again. And it may take them 3 or 4 times before they realize that they need to do something else. This thing is going to keep following them and coming after them. And maybe that diverts them into a bigger quest, because maybe they got lucky and killed something that was not that beefy, but then it comes back every time with more and more stuff.
Yeah. More things.
And so suddenly it evolves into one of the bigger bad evil guys that they have to kill. Mm-hmm. It's kind of it can be inserted at any moment. Or if one of your players pisses you off and it's just you know what?
We're gonna take it down a notch.
We're gonna think about that.
You
take the attitude down a couple notches.
You kill the innkeeper, and the innkeeper comes back as a Revenant to avenge his inn.
Yeah.
Because it got destroyed in his absence.
Right?
And now you just have this innkeeper building an army against you, and it's what the fuck?
Yeah.
But but that innkeeper has an uncanny ability to be at every inn that you go to at every town. And it is the same innkeeper that shows up at every inn you check into. He's just always there.
It's like a franchise that, like, he got a wizard's permission to be able to be available at every franchise that you go to. He's like the Final Fantasy Sid, or like 100%. The Nurse Joy.
I was going to say like the Nurse Joy. Just everyone you go to, it is just this innkeeper, and he is just.
See, it's like the plaguing long game.
And you don't notice it for the first couple of inns that you go to, but then you're just like, somebody rolls a really good perception check.
Yeah.
And there's like a little niggle at the back of their brain of like, why do I know this person?
Mm-hmm. There you go.
Layers, man. Just spinning some chaos into your party.
Yeah, I remember, in L5R Roman built a noodle house that was a franchise that would have a member of the same family in each noodle house. That was, anyways, it was adorable. But that's a really good idea. I like
franchises.
That. Anyways, we've created a whole campaign.
Yeah.
For me, I had an idea that, like, I love the fact that they're going to build an army. Mm-hmm. So I feel like a good starting point for your campaign is you are in the army of a Revenant. And your goal is to find this person and bring them back alive so that the Revenant can be the one that kills them.
Ooh.
So it could be a you think you're the good guy because you're following the quest and following what you're supposed to be doing, and then you bring back this person, or on the quest you find out that this person is actually like this really, really good guy, and you have this like this conscience issue of like, oh crap, we can't bring this guy back to our boss because we can't kill him. And that might pop off a whole fucking army or war or whatever, right? Yeah. You can get into politics a little bit with D&D with that. Yeah. So.
Yeah, and you could easily use this as a side quest for a party member that can't join for a couple months, but still wants to play. And you can, like, take them on a journey like that on the side. It's like, you wake up amongst, you know, a whole group of paladins or a whole group of fighters, and like you're like you come to and you're all getting up and marching somewhere, and it's like, what the
Where
fuck?
are we going?
And see how long it takes for you to realize you're a Revenant.
So good. That'd be fun. All right, next question is body horror. For this one, we kind of like talk about like, because normally we talk with Undead, we talk about how like they're falling apart and they're gross and they're nasty, but I find that Revenants will just look like the person. I mean, the most I would give them is maybe a scar of how they died. Like, let's say you stab them through the heart, they've got a scar down their chest, right? I don't know if you guys had any other ideas for that one, but I like, in my mind, they technically raise as like zombies, but I feel like they heal, and then they look normal.
And like, with that ability to regenerate hit points, I feel like, yes, they're kind of in a stasis of they look like how they looked when they died.
Yeah.
With a scar potentially, but then they regenerate back to that point. Throughout. Yeah. It's only a year. Yeah. How much can you decay in a year anyway?
Well, because we play the homebrew rule in our game that if you die, you wake up with a scar. Yeah. Like, if you die and you're brought back to life, you have a scar for, like, my character at the end, we ended up having to go and get glamour spells on us because we looked like shit.
We were so horrifying.
Yeah. So,
I mean, I was better than many other people, but...
I lit on fire. It was a problem.
Yeah.
See, I play, like, those broken characters that would just own it.
Yeah. We owned it for a while, but then we were supposed to be the good guys, and then
you look like that scraggly alley cat that you were like, questionable.
Well, again, I lit on fire, so like my hair was gone, my face was covered in scars, like I was not, and I was the paladin of the group.
Yeah.
So like, I had to be a nice face, and I was not at the time.
I wouldn't say that there's a lot of body horror that would really stand out other than giving them kind of tokens of how they passed or kind of tokens of their past life and things like that.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah.
Maybe they carry a picture of the person they're targeting in their wallet, you know.
In a locket.
Yeah.
In like in a heart-shaped locket, and they just every night
X'd out his eyes.
Yeah.
We've all done it. All right, well, we'll move on to role-playing then. Lindsay, do you have any role-playing ideas for these ones or how you would handle them in a campaign?
I mean, it's one of those ones that's like, you could just play it so normal.
Yeah, you could play the fucking innkeeper if you wanted to.
Exactly. and I think it's one of those things that, like, you have that crisis of conscience, because if you have a scenario such as the one that you said for the quest, you've got the crisis of conscience and things like that. So I think that there's so much opportunity to really go in depth in like the soul searching and the politics in really like getting outside of your own comfort zone as a player as well, in putting yourself in those scenarios or having those scenarios that you really have to like take a step back and go like, okay, how would my character play this? Because I know how I would play it in real life, but like, how would my character play it?
Yeah.
So I think it's one of those, like, you could definitely have the layers and the challenges to it.
Yeah.
But it would definitely be, for me, like, I would mainly focus on like the psychology of it and like figuring out like what's my conscience really saying.
Yeah.
Right.
If I'm up against them, am I going to try and help them?
Yeah.
Or am I going to try and vanquish them?
Yeah, because if you witnessed the death of someone who became a Revenant,
Yeah.
it's kind of like, okay, well, yes, killing somebody is wrong, but they were killed by this person.
Yeah.
So would I side with a Revenant to be like, no, I'll help you get your revenge? Or would you side with the person who's being targeted by a Revenant?
Yeah.
Knowing that if the Revenant kills, they only have a year, technically, if you knew that a Revenant only had a year, do you help them run for a year, or do you help them destroy a Revenant?
Yeah.
Like, so you're right, I like that, the conscience shit. What about you, Casey?
Okay, I'm thinking on a different spin here. Say you encounter somebody that joins your party for a while and you don't know that they're a Revenant. Mm-hmm. I would like to add the ability of somehow, maybe it's a pair and one of them is a magic user outside of the Revenant. Mm-hmm. I want to give visions to the party members as hints of like a battle or so it's like the DM role-playing the Revenant remembering how they were betrayed or how they were backstabbed or why they're doing what they're doing, and give it like piece by piece. Not say which one it is that's like projecting the visions, but see how long it takes them to realize what's actually going on.
Yeah.
It would make it a more complex role-playing tactic.
Yeah.
Or even they have nightmares.
And like, dreams are a good way to
I was going to say dreams are a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Dreams or premonitions, things like that.
Yeah. And so whether the Revenant knows and you're going to roleplay the Revenant not knowing, but then you're giving it's like going through the motions of having a nightmare and waking up and saying, I saw this, and the players are trying to figure out what's wrong with it, or it's just trying to fuck around with this group because it has found its target, and so now it's trying to just pretend and go along, and maybe it meets up and they realize that it's not powerful enough to defeat the party as a group. And so now it's trying to tactically like figure out a new game plan, but stay along with the group.
Yeah.
So role-playing it as like so much deceit, but from the DM's perspective doing that.
For me, I'm thinking of like how I would, if I was to be a DM and I had a Revenant in my campaign, how I would play them. And I would definitely play them manic as fuck.
Yeah.
You have 1 year to be able to do what you need to do.
Yeah.
You know where they are at all times.
Yeah, at all times.
You just have to ensure that you are strong enough to kill them when you get a chance to, right?
Yeah.
And so do you do the plot point of trying to figure out, okay, I'm going to put all these pieces together and I'm going to get him. Mm-hmm. Or you just like, no, I'm just going to march the fuck after him and I'm going to try and kill him multiple times. Yeah. Rejuvenate
I'm just going to keep
multiple
coming back.
times.
Yeah.
Right?
Just
like,
keep coming back.
That's the decision I would want to make. Is this going to be a person that's going to be like forthcoming and be like, no, like I'm strong enough and I'm going to kill you on my own. And then like, to your point, is in every fucking inn you're in and tries to kill you every time you walk into an inn.
Yeah.
Or do you play the long game where the manic role-playing is like they just show up at the end of the campaign?
Yeah.
Or as your like mid-campaign like cliffhanger, right? Just to be like, no, I've been following you for months. Right?
Totally.
And I would also like, and this actually brings us to like our next section on exploration and clues. I would love it that the person who is the target just randomly sees them in the crowd every once in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
That was exactly what I was thinking, is just they are a patron of every tavern that you walk into, and they are always just in that shaded corner booth or they're a whisper amongst the crowds at the market that you're in of like, oh, did you see that like suspicious looking guy in the cloak? You know, it's just like the whispers amongst the crowds and things like that. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, but the body
well.
he's in is just a random goblin, and your group is like, dude, it's just a regular guy.
It's just a regular guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you could have it so that even the story, the bad story of how you killed that person or that creature is ahead of you all the time. And so then you get the bad reputation before you get anywhere new you're going.
Yeah.
And so, like, it's like, oh, I know who you are. You whatever. And it's like, they're coming for you. And, like, you are always just trying to stay ahead. And it's like, maybe they won't know about it. But then you talk to the right person and it's like, or you get the stares from across the inn from just different people.
I love the idea of there being like a random fortune teller's booth that just like pulls one of the characters over. And it could be the person who's being hunted, and it could just be a person from the party. And they're just like, gives them a bit of a premonition of like, you are being followed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, set the paranoia in before
Yeah.
you even realize who's coming for you.
Yeah.
So, say, kind of touching back on what we had talked about a little earlier about the Revenant always goes after the one that deals the last blow.
Yeah.
But the entire party contributed to murdering this guy.
Oh, they're after your horde, yeah.
But the Revenant only appears to be that person to the person that they're hunting. Would the whole party then, because they're technically hunting the whole party, but in order, would only one of your party members see it until that party member falls, and then the other ones, is it like a chain domino effect?
I like that.
I feel
as
like
well.
rules as written, it doesn't necessarily say that like only one person sees it. It does state like the target, like who it's hunting. So I'm assuming that it's that way, and I like it that way.
If it's like clan party, or if it's just one singular person.
I think that I like the idea that it's just who it's targeting.
It's a singular person.
Is the person that can see it. And then when that person falls...
the
all
next
of a sudden,
party member...
the barbarian's like, holy shit!
Yeah.
Like,
and it's like almost like an instant transformation, because like that one party member falls.
Yeah.
They haven't been rezzed. They've got to make a death save. All of a sudden, the next person is like, why did that gnome just turn into the dark elf?
Yeah, but then the rest of the party's like, are you fucking crazy?
Yeah.
Like, oh, that'd be so... It's such a good reveal, too.
Yeah.
Because, like, you can just have, like, a one-on-one with the person that's being hunted and be like, you know who it is, but just don't say it yet.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, and then, like, so we just want a big reveal. So then, like, they walk into the first battle and, like, immediately just one-shots, like, the paladin in the group.
Yeah.
And then falls down to the ground, and then the next person sees it. And, like, then it just pops, and then everybody's like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Revenant time. Like,
Oh my god.
yeah. And then your wizard of the group that knows it will be like, we're fighting a Revenant. Okay. What do we gotta do? Let me get my playbook.
Let me consult my tombs.
Your bard's like, I've heard a song about this once. Give me a second. Like,
Tomes, not tombs.
tomes or tombs?
Tomes or tombs?
Didn't we have an episode where we struggled with that one a lot?
Yeah, the battle goes on.
I think it's tomes.
Tomes?
I like both. I will
I use them interchangeably.
Interchangeable.
Yes.
All right, anything final for, like, combat thoughts for them? Because, I mean, like, again, brass tacks are pretty boring.
Yeah.
Their tactic is, in my mind, they're going to build an army.
Yeah.
Like, or at least, like, a small cult of people.
Or they're going to bide their time and wait.
Bide their time and wait, or, like, poison you slowly.
Yeah.
Or, like, do something. Like...
I kind of like the idea of, like, the stealth combat of, like, the slowly breaking you down psychologically until you're just a shell of what you were as a character because of the amount of trauma that you've sustained.
Yeah, that's fair.
Jesus.
We like that. We're here for the psychological trauma.
Always.
Yeah.
As written, if they don't even actually have a specific weapon ability, it's just like a slam attack. Like that's so uninspiring.
Fisticuffs.
Like that is the place where you bring in some sort of interest.
Yeah.
Like whether you're using an old character or somebody that they came across and killed, or just bringing something else new into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're gonna have something.
Reskin it.
Come on.
I love the idea of, in my mind now, I'm going to call it the reverse Revenant, because it's your party member dies and they're coming after you because you let them die.
Yeah.
And then the clue for the rest of the party, because only the one person who's on the target right now sees them, like, Their clue is that they're in that person's clothing and has their ancestral sword.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? And they're just like, why do you have our friend's stuff? And our person's like, that is our friend.
Yeah.
Like,
Joe's just sitting over there.
yeah, Kevin's just around the corner. All right. What do we have next?
All right, we are moving on to sword wraiths. So there are 2 types of these monsters, the sword wraith warrior and the sword wraith commander. The sword wraith is pretty straightforward as well. They are warriors who lived and breathed battle and glory, but died on the battlefield without honor. So they are described with a little more content in other lore sources. The book I am referencing is Mordenkainen Presents Monsters of the Multiverse. So in other sources besides this book, they have called them more like undead creatures arising from the bodies of mercenaries whose lust for war was too great for the death to distinguish. So it's more like, I wasn't finished, I want more death, I want more destruction, versus I died before I fulfilled the honor of my family. So spin it how you want. The art for this depicts a decayed body with tattered clothing and armor and weapons that look very rusted or old looking. And they have glowing red eyes, and it also looks like they have a glowing chest, where their heart would be, just pulses red. But because their flesh is rotting, you can just see it through that. So it's pretty creepy.
Gross.
So, like I said, there are 2 versions of the Sword Wraith, the Sword Wraith Warrior and the Sword Wraith Commander. You will tend to find or encounter both of these in they're haunting the fields in which they battled, or they're haunting the area in where there was the mass graves of the dead in the battle. And you are more likely to have interactions with the Commander, as they were more likely to be the leader of the legions and now the undead legions of the warriors. And they are going to actually react to the behaviors of those who enter the area. So should you question their valor or their strength or position in power, they will just attack you. They'll be like, fuck you. But if you recognize what battle took place there and praise their valor or convince them of your own military position being equal or superior to them, or should you perform a ballad in their honor, they may then decide not to fight you and be calmed down and perhaps become an ally. So they are bloodlust first, but the commanders have a little bit different stat blocks so that you can actually communicate with them. Okay, so we are going to start with some stats on the Sword Wraith Warrior. These are medium undead and typically lawful evil. They have an AC of 16 and have chainmail and shield. Hit point average is 45 and movement speed is 30 feet. They are a challenge rating of 3. So that should give you an indicator that these are the marching soldiers that died. So you are probably going to find them in multiples. It's going to be rare you'll find them just singular. And not surprisingly, these warriors have their highest ability stat in strength with a +4 modifier. And second is con with +3, and it's a steady decline after that with dex +1, charisma 0, wisdom -1, and intelligence -2. They're soldiers. They were told to do one thing in life, which is just fight in battle, and so they're going to just continue doing that now that they're dead.
Yeah.
Moving into damage resistances, your usual necrotic, bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from non-magical attacks. They have damage immunity to poison, conditional immunities, exhaustion, frightened, poisoned, unconscious. They have dark vision of 60 feet and passive perception of 9. It knows the language it knew in life and has unusual nature, which we see very frequently in the Undead series, which is it does not require air, food, drink, or sleep. So what can the Sword Wraith Warrior do in combat? Well, it carries a battle axe and a longbow. It's a fighter. It has a +6 to hit with its battle axe within 5 feet and one target for 1d8 plus 4 slashing damage, and it can use it two-handed for 1d10 plus 4 slashing damage. It has a +3 to hit on its longbow for a ranged attack and will deal 1d8 plus 1 piercing damage on a hit. It does have one bonus action ability called Martial Fury, where it can make one attack with its battle axe or longbow as a bonus action, but then attacks against it have advantage until the start of its next turn. So I see this as like a somewhat modified rage, or like that bloodlust coming through, where it's so focused on just getting another attack in that you can gain an advantage when you like come back at it.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't care about trying to defend itself in that moment.
No, it's sacrificing itself to get the kill.
Yeah. And that's it for the warrior stat block. They are your classic, like, lower-ish level fighter.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can do some damage, but in numbers, they're much more difficult.
They're your frontline warrior that was sacrificed at the start of the battle.
Absolutely. And now they're just following the Sword Wraith commander's direction. Yeah. So moving into that, they are very, very similar, just a little more beefy with landing at a CR of 8. So the warrior is at a 3. So it has an AC of 18, as it has a commander's breastplate armor and shield, and it has over double the HP with an average of 127. And the same movement speed of 30 feet. So this maybe is a little more comparable to the Revenant, I think.
Yeah.
Its con is bumped up a little bit to be equal to strength at both +4. And then it does not have any negative modifiers like the warrior in its abilities. Dex and charisma are +2, wisdom is +1, and intelligence is +0. So it's a clear indication this is the one that will want to interact with you a little more than just be fodder and on the battlefield. But like, they don't have a lot working for them either. Like, their wisdom and intelligence are their lowest stats. But they have one clear kind of purpose only. It's just fight.
Yeah.
And the honor and pride thing. It knows the languages it knew in life and also has the unusual nature. So if we get into the extra abilities that the Sword Wraith commander has over the Sword Wraith warrior, it has Turning Defiance. So it and any other Sword Wraiths within 20 feet have advantage on saving throws against effects that turn undead. It also has Call to Honor. So once per day, if it has taken damage during the combat, the commander can give itself advantage on attack rolls until the end of its next turn and summon 1d4 plus 4 Sword Wraiths warriors to unoccupied spaces within 30 feet. So it can just pop in potentially up to 5 warriors in its space if it takes damage.
Yeah.
So that suddenly gets a bit more scary.
Oh, spicy.
An undead shield.
Yeah.
Of
Yeah,
warriors.
right? Yeah, totally. And so these warriors take their turn right after the commander. So it's not even that they get rolled in. It's like, if it does this ability, they show up and they attack immediately after it. And they last until they drop to 0 hit points. So then they kind of, they're like a one shot from that.
Gotcha.
In terms of attack, the commander does have multi-attack to make 2 attacks with either a long sword or a long bow. It has a bit higher modifiers, so the longsword has a +7 to hit, 5-foot reach on one target. It will deal 1d8 plus 4 slashing, or it can use it two-handed on a hit to do 1d10 plus 4 slashing.
I love that you wrote 1d20.
Yeah, I'm like, maybe that's a mistake. That is definitely a mistake.
I was like, wow. That's nice.
That's a big hit.
That's fancy.
And the longbow attack has a +5 to hit, one target ranged attack that deals 1d8 plus 2 piercing damage on a hit. Again, it's a beefier fighter, but nonetheless still a fighter with a couple extra abilities. It too has the Martial Fury ability as a bonus action, but when it makes that attack with its longsword or longbow as a bonus action, the attack deals an extra 2d8 necrotic damage on a hit. and then attacks have advantage against it at the start of its next turn. So that's like an extra little like just jab on that final fury attack. And that's it. One final fun fact I read online was that towns that are nearby ancient battlefields often hold festivals in remembrance and honor of the sword wraiths in order to keep their bloodlust and battle savviness at bay. So they just like keep doing this because like probably things went really bad for a couple years or like a decade, and they're like, we should learn from this.
Let's just celebrate them, make them feel good, and maybe they won't attack us.
Yeah.
Love that.
Just hanging out waiting for their offerings, being like...
Exactly.
Oh, it's like old pagan gods just waiting for their sacrifices for a bountiful harvest.
Like, thanks for that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're pretty cool.
All right. So we can ask some questions about these ones. I think you can interchangeably say one or the other with your answers if you want to.
Sure.
Like if you have an idea for one or the other. So let's roll some dice. Oh, God.
13, 14.
14. So I'll go first. I'll answer my own fucking question. That's fine. So quest ideas for this one. I do like the idea of the holding a festival. Like, you've walked into a town, and it's kind of like, all I'm thinking of is, like, Legend of Zelda, like, the Ocarina of Time, where the town is about to have, like, a big festival, and it's going to take 3 days until the festival starts. Yeah. But you don't really know what the festival is about. Yeah. Anyways, I feel like that's...
Let's join in the festivities.
Yeah, that's like, let's join in the festivities. What are we celebrating? Oh, or, like, it's
We're just making sure that this guy doesn't come slaughter us all.
Slaughter us all in our sleep.
What?
Yeah.
So we're going to hold this festival, and we're going to make all these offerings and sacrifices, but we're still in bed promptly 11 p.m. and the doors are closed and locked. And it's like, wait, what?
There is a curfew.
Yeah. So then I feel like there would be an opportunity for you guys to like investigate the city to find out if there's a way to lift the curse.
The Village.
Yeah.
M. Night Shyamalan's The Village, where you've got the curfew because you don't know what's coming out the woods.
Yeah. Like you don't know what's going to happen when the lights go out. You know what I mean? So I feel like that would be like you won't even necessarily have to have a quest there. I don't think it would be my main quest. It would just be like a weird side thing that happened if you went into a town. Your group would decide if you wanted to help them out or partake in the festival or only spend a day or two here and then leave before the festival happens.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Could be a potential.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what about you, Lindsay? Any other thoughts?
Ooh, quests. I mean, this is kind of one of those, like, you could have, like, that commander and that is the lead up to that big bad. You know, the commander is the commander for the big bad's army.
Yeah.
And so, you know, as you're kind of nearing the end, you've, you know, just one last push. You know, you're on like episode 10 of 12 and and you come across essentially the army of Remanents and you have a whole shit ton of warriors. And you're like, oh, these guys are pretty squishy and they're pretty easy to get through. And you're just kind of going
through the coals.
Yeah, you're just going through them. And then all of a sudden you got Big Daddy Commander.
Yeah.
That just kind of shows up and they're like, what's up?
When you said that group of commanders, I feel like an idea popped into my head where it'd be really neat if you knew that it was an area that had multiple battlefields that would have a commander that followed this one bad evil guy. And to take away this man's power, you do have to destroy like the 12 commanders.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. Because like every like kind of Viking or old school show that we've watched, like there's the cliffs and then like the battlefield. So I feel like probably generations of battles and the carnage of putting mass graves will be in the same location. It's like, oh, we're piling this on top of that battle of like 150 years ago. And so like it could just keep compiling.
My brain immediately went to like how many battlefields like during the Roman Empire and all of that sort of stuff. Like when they're going down into...
How often do you think about that?
Oh my god! You did!
I did. No, I asked my husband that and he's like, almost never. And I was like, you're an odd man to never think about the Roman Empire.
But yeah, like it's like we will meet on the field of blah blah blah.
It's like the ancestral field of battle.
Yeah, that'd be neat. What about you, Casey? Any other quest ideas?
Okay, I like the idea of having this way forward, like the long game. You're trying to like figure out a way to defeat this one thing, and you think that one of the commanders, if there's multiple, has the information you need. And so you go to the village and they're setting up this festival and it's like, okay, well, we can't wait 3 days for this festival for them to chill the fuck out. We need to go talk to them. And so you go and try and talk to them. And you find out that, like, it's actually not the big baddie that you are going for. There's, like, someone else.
Yeah.
It's like, no, what god did you say? Or who the hell did you just mention? No. And then they go into, like, a rant about, like, and just, like, disprove a lot of the information you thought was giving you the direction.
Yeah.
And you're just thrown by this whole thing. Then, you know, you never know what the rest of their party's doing. If you piss them off, they just start battling and they go, no. And they turn and start marching towards the village. Because it's like, it was their fault you're here.
Yeah.
So then you just have the guilt of them going after the villagers.
Yeah.
There.
It's like that whole, like, improperly written history, right?
Yeah.
Like, you go in and you learn, oh, this big bad happened, and, like, the big bad was the good guy, and then you go and you, like, talk to this commander, and he's like, no, we were slaughtered here.
Yeah.
There's a reason we're here.
Yeah, because they know that is the only reason they are still existing.
Yeah.
So.
Fuck you guys and your shit.
Yeah.
But, all right, body horror. So, I'm first on this one.
Yeah.
Settle down there, Ehlwyn. So for body horror, so these ones do kind of read in the fact that they're, like, skeletal. I just had to say it once. I'll say it more times in this series. But they're very skeletal. They're like, yeah, you see their bones. You see the glowing heart part. Like, that to me, like, the glowingness of the chest and being able to see their heartbeat, I feel like you could almost see, like, the blood pumping through their veins, too, as, like, dissipates into their arms and legs.
Ooh, yeah.
So if they're wearing armor and you can't see it on, like, their chest directly, I would almost say, like, you could see it pumping through their arms, too. Right? That's for the commander, anyways. But, like, do they both have all, like, the warrior and the commander are pretty much the same?
Yeah, it's described as, like, the sword wraiths as a whole. Are like that.
Yeah. So that's pretty dope. And I would lead into that. And I'd almost feel like because you can see it and it's almost like on the outside of, like, their bones, you'd be able to hear it too.
Oh yeah, you hear the
Yeah. Like the tick-tocking
And what if,
heart.
like, all of the warriors, it's in unison just for the fuck of it, and so you're walking through the cemetery,
it's like their war drum.
and you just hear this, like, rumble, heartbeat on the wind.
Ooh. What about you, Ehlwyn?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely also very much lean into, like, because it says, like, the tattered clothes and the skeletal, you know, leaning into, like, these glowing zombies. Like, they are, you know, you see them in like the hordes and things like that, and you just see kind of like this just red glow that's just off in the distance at first, and then you're just kind of like sitting there and you're like, what's going on? But then they're like a little slow moving. They're not a little out of step, a little disjointed, not so much with like the full zombie walk, but it just looks a little off as they start getting closer, and then you just see essentially like these glowing zombies.
And like some will have like be missing their foot.
Yeah,
and some
very
will
much
be,
so.
like,
And like
limping, but
they
they're still
very
going.
much carry the wounds of how they died. So like like arrows through the eye, like you're looking at like ripped off, you know, like
missing
jaw,
limbs.
like missing limbs, like half of their face is blown off,
Yeah.
like that sort of stuff, and they're just a straight zombie horde heading towards you, but they're not zombies. They're a little worse.
It's dope. What about you, Casey?
Yeah, I do like that they give them armor and give them a weapon. Now that we've covered the Revenant in detail, this takes out that kind of creativity a little bit. But I also like that the art is clearly a female version of this.
Ooh.
Like, it's got, like, long hair and, like, you can just tell.
Yeah.
So, because naturally you would think this is an army of, like, men, because you think of old-style battles where the women weren't included. So it's like, wait a second.
Yeah. And also based off of the axe, she almost looks like she's like a Viking or something like that, which is like
very, very cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't really have anything more to add for body horror.
Yeah.
I think we got it.
It's true. All right, role-playing ideas for these ones. So I think for the warriors, they wouldn't really have much communication needs as to what you said, Casey, but like I feel like the commander, I would play them very like calm and collected. They're like, this is like almost like Barbossa Like, you know?
Yeah.
Just like, this is just my army of people.
Yeah.
We've been here forever. We can't go anywhere.
Yeah.
This is just what we hunt. And if you want to walk across, good for you. But we'll probably kill you if you tried.
Super cocky.
Convince me not to.
Yeah.
Totally.
A little too confident.
Yeah. I mean, like, I was like, and it's just him standing there. And all of a sudden, like, okay, I imagine this in my head. He's just standing there, like, the edge of, like, the battlefield. And it's, like, this really smoggy, swampy-looking battlefield. But you can see these weird glowing pots, like, within the waters. Or, like, within the swamp. There's, like, these glowing red areas. So you know that there's under the water or, like, within the swampy grassness.
They don't need air.
That's the thing, and he's just standing there, just like, I don't know if you want to cross.
Did you want to fuck around? You can find out.
You can absolutely find out if you want to fuck around. So like, but yeah, what be willing? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I would say something similar. I mean, I would say that there's not a lot of theatrical role playing for the warriors, but definitely the commander. You could play it in a lot of different ways. You could kind of play it as, this is Sparta. You know, he is the one that is charging and leading the battlefield, and you just all of a sudden see a freaking army of these guys rise up and out of the mist, and you're just like, oh my god. But then you could also very much play it that stoic, I am confident in my position and my command.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
and like even like the laugh, like the arrogant laugh thing
Like across
the way towards them, like just
and then everybody laughs with him in unison, so you hear the just across the field.
And then the fate heartbeats.
Yes, the beat. That's I like the fact that you said the heart beating thing. That'd be really cool
that
to put in
clever.
there. Yeah.
I immediately, we've gone there in many of the Undead series, like to Lord of the Rings, like the ghosts under the mountain.
Yeah.
Like if you transport those just from like them being stuck under the mountain to another one, where like the commander is somewhat pissed. Is like, like we are in the sense of like maybe nobody has navigated through their area in 10 years or 100 years. And he is just waiting for his next battle to prove, like, the strength of his army. And so when you come across, he's ready to do it. But then if you roll really well, you can pause and make him talk. And he's just this arrogant prick that just has, like, super bitterness, chip on his shoulder. And it's like, well, if you got maybe a really, really intimidating barbarian or fighter that can convince him that they're, like, above, like, a level above them in military stance, or you have a clever bard that could maybe like pass as no, like we need your help, like and gain allies in that. But
all right, any final thoughts on exploration clues or combat? I think we can choose either one of those. I feel for exploration, I love the imagery now in my head, the fact that when you get close you can hear the beating hearts. Like that's their first clue. Other than knowing the history of the area, like, you may run into them, but if you don't know the history of area, or maybe you come across the battlefield before you get to your next town, I like the idea of the beating hearts. I like the visual that I had said about how, like, you can see the glowing. Like, let's say that you camped at nighttime just on the outskirts of it, and, like, the night that goes black at night, then all of a sudden you see a red glow through the trees.
Are you in my brain right now? Because that is exactly what I was thinking, was you're in that village, you're looking out your window of the inn, you just ready to settle down for the night, and you're just looking on the horizon, and you just see this red glow.
Like, what's that? Red Sea over there. It's like, let me sit down, children. Let me tell you a story.
And then the next day is the day that the village starts prepping for their festival. And you're like, what is this festival all about?
You're like, you remember that red hue that you saw yesterday?
Okay, so if you have party members who love to talk to every single villager, I was just playing for like a whole week with my family, like my sister and her kids, and like they want to talk to anyone and everyone. And so this, like, you could drop so much clues and exploration stuff in information in the villagers. Maybe some of them are descendants of that commander. And so, like, they are shunned and they can't go to the festival because they are not allowed, because, like, they're part of, like, the no, this is your fault
Yeah.
that we have to do this and we're trapped here. And so you start to get a sense of like dynamic, and there's certain things people won't talk about. Children like blurt out something and then the parent is like, shut up, we don't talk about that.
Yeah.
Well, could you imagine the solve of like sending like them, like giving them their sending is that like the family makes amends with each other?
Yeah.
Like you reunite the great-great-grandfather with their great-great-granddaughter, and that's what sends them.
Yeah.
Like
that was their last.
Yeah.
Or they they believe their entire family generation was killed, but they weren't. And they're living just like in that village, but they've been keeping it secret for like 200 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
like, you're just like, no, your bloodline exists. And it's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Bring her to me. It's like, okay.
And that's how they invade the village.
Yeah, that's how it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, for combat, I don't think there's anything that exciting. I mean, they're warriors. I think the only thing I'll say is if you're in a battle with the warriors, use their bonus action to like do the extra, because they're going to.
Yeah.
They don't care about their own bodies.
Yeah.
They don't give a shit. Their goal is to kill you.
Yeah.
I do feel like you can slow down to your point, Casey, with the commander, but I think that like if you're going to play warriors, they're going to try and kill you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Murder.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Agreed.
All right, Ellie, I think you're next.
Yeah. So next on the docket is the Foresworn. So Foresworn are spectral embodiments of former Solamnic knights. So they've also got an unwavering commitment to their duties even in death.
Okay.
So they were sworn to something in life, and they're carrying that on in death. So these apparitions, they wield spectral weapons and armor. They retain combat skills that they possessed in life, and their capacity to harness, or they have capacity to harness magic, as well as seek aid from deceased companions as well. So much like Revenants, the Foresworn obsessively center their existence on a singular goal and adamantly persist in their undead state until they accomplish their life's mission. So should a Foresworn be defeated before fulfilling its duty, it does return after 3 days with full strength and everything. So they're kind of reinvigorated to keep on going.
Try again.
Yeah, pretty much.
Keep trying.
Yeah. So because the Foresworn have a sole purpose and duty, you could really encounter these guys in just a magnitude of different settings. Could be as an unyielding guardian for a valuable artifact, in a sanctuary or a castle or a dungeon. They could also be bound by an oath to protect a specific family's lineage, something along those lines. So, breaking these guys down in stats, they are medium undead. They are typically lawful good. They have an AC of 18 thanks to plate armor. They have 82 hit points and 30 feet of movement, and they are a CR of 6. So they also have a +5 to strength, +4 to wisdom, 3 to constitution, 2 to dex, 1 to intelligence, and 0 to charisma. So a nice little
array.
step down.
Yeah.
They also have a +8 to strength saving throws and a +7 to wisdom saving throws. So it's going to be pretty tough to try and pull a fast one over on any of these guys.
Yeah.
They have resistance, so you've got, your usual for undead, necrotic, bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from non-magical. They're also immune to poison. Their conditional immunities are exhaustion, frightened, grappled, paralyzed, petrified, poisoned, prone, restrained, and unconscious.
Great.
So they are immune to a lot.
Yeah.
They have 60 feet dark vision, and they also have a passive perception of 14. So they have something that is called duty bound, which essentially means that they are bound to a singular duty that it has pledged its life to. They also have incorporeal movement, which means that they can move through other creatures and objects.
I hate that every time.
Yeah.
As if it was difficult terrain. Mm-hmm. And if it ends its turn inside an object, it takes 5 points of damage.
Yes, that force damage nonsense. Yeah.
So they also have, like all other, in the Undead, they have unusual nature where they don't require food, drink, air, or sleep. Foresworn have, they do melee attack. They have a multi-melee attack where they make a whopping 3 attacks with its spectral pole arm. So it's a +8 to hit with a 5-foot reach for 1 target. And it deals 12 points of damage, or I guess you could say it is 2d6 plus 5 force damage.
Yep.
Yeah, so whops you with that 3 times. Foresworn also have the ability to cast spells using Wisdom and a spell save DC of 15. So 2 times a day, it can use either Command or Detect Good or Evil. And once a day, it can use Wall of Force. So it can say, nope.
No, thank you.
Lastly, the Foresworn have a bonus action of Phantasmic Battalion. So basically, it can call its buddies to come out and play. The battalion of ghostly soldiers fills a 10-foot cube centered around the Foresworn, moves when the Foresworn moves, and lasts until its next turn. While they're present in the area that they occupy, the area is considered difficult terrain, and it also increases the Foresworn's melee from 5 foot to 10 foot.
It's like their version of guardian spirits or whatever that one is. That
pretty
like,
much.
Spirit
That's
guardians.
Pop off or
spirit.
whatever.
Yeah, that's essentially what it is. Yeah,
And then it can
But they
attack
just-
from behind that.
yeah,
We
yeah,
love that for him. Sorry, them. We love that for them.
yeah.
Well, neato. All right, shall we raise some dice
Let's do it.
with feeling?
Am I gonna...
Oh, guys.
Yeah. No double digits for me
All
yet.
right. 16 for me. Elwyn got 9, and you got a 6.
6.
All right, I will answer my first question. I'll answer my own questions as always. All right, so first one we always talk about is a neat quest idea. I think for the Foresworn, because they're a little bit different from Revenants, the fact that not only is it just they have vengeance on people, but it is a personal vendetta to themselves about like, no, I have a duty that I need to fulfill, right? So these, in my mind, can be used as your quest givers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or either to take apart, like, one part of a longer stretch goal that they have to be like, okay, well, this is what I'm trying to do, but I'm just going to send you to go do this small mission for me to kind of, like, tick off my to-do list before I get to do the big thing. Mm-hmm. And they could end up being your big, bad, evil guy at the very end of the game because you went and helped this man slaughter a sheep. You know what I mean? Like, so you can have the smallest task at the beginning of the game, you have an interaction with this person, you help them out because you're the good guys, and then you realize that what Casey and I do on a regular basis in our campaigns is we unleash whole evils onto the world on a regular basis. I feel like that would be a good thing. But I feel like because they're constantly like trying to be like, no, these are like my duties and my quests are my thing, they can be a quest giver for your team.
Yeah.
That's my thoughts.
Yeah, I kind of think of it as they could, in a very weird, creepy way, because that's where my brain goes, be a fun companion for one of your party members. Like, they are sworn to protect that party member.
Oh, you got your like Yojimbo thing going on.
Essentially. Yeah.
Okay.
So you've got like a fun little like NPC that just is hanging out, floating around, following this one person, and they're like, why are they following you around?
Yeah.
I don't know, but here's Steve.
Yeah. Just what's up, Steve? I feel like I can also, the weirdest part was like, as soon as he said that, all I could picture was how Mieka would play that. And she'd be so annoyed that someone was following them around trying to like take care of her.
But like, that's the thing, is that like, like it could be to like the annoyance of one of your party characters.
Oh, yeah,
Of one of
absolutely.
your, but then that's just kind of one of those, he's just like, no, you have to go this way. And then if you just really have like a character or a player like Mieka, where she'd be like, okay, you're asking me to go that way? I'm gonna go that way.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go the complete opposite. And this guy is just
Like, what if it was like their like squire?
Yeah.
That like, it was like, he was the worst, thank God he died. And then it's like, hello.
Yeah. Or it was like her
Yeah.
father's squire, and then like her dad died, and his dying breath was like, no, like you didn't protect me, protect my daughter.
Yeah.
Now
Yes.
you're fucking Foresworn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I also like the idea of, because they have that ability of like poofing a cube.
Yeah.
It's like they're like it has to be done, and they go into like who they're protecting, give them the force damage, but then it's like, but look, and then they have like the cube surrounding them, and it's like, God damn it, Steve! Because they have to take force damage, they both do every time.
Yeah.
I'm protecting you, I swear.
Go this way. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Just a little. I can top that.
Yeah. Just a little comedic, but also dark.
Yeah. That's how we roll here on the
Injects into
podcast.
into your...
Yeah.
Did you have any other further thoughts on Quest, Casey?
Yeah, not really. Those are pretty good. These are way more versatile for adding them in different spots than the other ones we've talked about.
Because they can be good or evil, I think.
Well,
Yeah,
they're typically
Evil.
lawful. No, they're typically lawful good.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so they're not really, they're sworn to protect this one thing, or they're sworn to do this one thing.
Yeah.
And they will do that.
I still think you
until-
can do it good or evil.
Yeah, you could.
Yeah.
You absolutely could.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because to them, they're being lawful good, but they're protecting the big bad evil guy, right?
Well,
Yeah.
and one of the things that you could also, I mean, this kind of touches a little into the role playing, but they don't, like the Revenants, or unlike the Revenants, they don't have a timeline on them.
Yeah.
They don't have a year to complete their mission. They just do their mission until their mission is done. Mm-hmm. And so you could slowly have one that is just spiraling down into a deep psychosis where he was lawful good and he's like, yeah, I'm going to protect this thing and I'm going to do such a great job. And then he dies and he comes back and he's like, okay, cool, I got another chance. I'm going to protect this thing. I'm going to do such a great job. And then it's like somebody keeps trying to take it from him and he just gets more pissed and more pissed and more pissed. And he keeps dying and he comes back 3 days later and he keeps dying and he comes back 3 later. And he just starts spiraling.
Okay, so I love the darkness we're going with here. So I'm gonna add on to our romance. I'm gonna call it a enemies to lovers romance.
Oh boy!
Between the daughter that is now has a Foresworn squire following around, she falls in love with him eventually.
Forced proximity.
There's only one bed in the hotel room.
Oh my god! We're hitting all the check boxes, ladies.
And then all of a sudden, the one day happens where he does protect her from dying. Like he steps in the way, and then like he gets stabbed.
Sacrifices himself.
But he doesn't die. But she survives. But he's like, well, I've fulfilled my duty. Like I'm good. I'm gone.
Oh my god!
And then he disappears, and there's the big bad sad for your one player
because
at the table.
Secretly, she's like,
Steve.
she's grown attached.
It's been you.
It's always been you.
She's grown attached.
Oh my god!
We need to write horror romance stories, guys. Anyways, we can move on. Yeah, unless you have anything to add, we can move on to something else.
Body horrors.
I love it.
So I didn't touch base in this for body horrors, but the book that we were referencing was Monstrous Compendium, Volume 2, Dragonlance Creatures. And the artwork for it, it's like kind of like a blue, glowing, spectral, ghosty boy.
We love a ghosty boy.
That's just in he's just in full like warrior armor.
So it's the same kind of what we talked about.
Yeah.
It's like not a lot of actual real body horror.
No.
But you can speak to the spectral aspects of
Yeah.
it, right? Like
He's just a cool little blue ghosty boy that just follows you around.
Yeah, and it will totally be those things where like it's like, I need some space, and you slam the door and they just come through the door and keep talking to
Absolutely,
you.
because they have
walk
incorporeal
through it.
movement and
Yeah.
they're just walking right through.
And it's like, you know that doesn't work.
Yeah.
I'm still gonna try.
Yeah.
Leave me alone, Steve. All right, we can move on, and then I guess to role playing aspects for these ones. So I think because they're no matter which direction you play, they're going to be super lawful towards their goal. Mm-hmm. So, and they're going to be stupid about it. So this is the one kind of one that you can do lawful stupid and still do it well.
Yeah.
Because they'll be like, well, no, we have to do it this way because we're going the protection route, it's always because this is the better route because it's going to keep you safer.
Yeah.
Right.
Like that's always their goal, and like that's always what they're going to want to do. Even if it's something where like my goal in life was to keep this farm from burning to the ground. You probably have a fear of fire. Right? Like, you have to think about, like, what is going to stop them from reaching their goal. And that's going to be what they're going to hyperfixate on, making sure it doesn't happen.
Right.
So, like, if you have a fear of fire because it's going to burn down your farm and your goal is to keep this farm alive, if a fucking wizard walks up, you're going to be like, I've seen one of you before, and if you fireball my farm, I will kill you.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they've had, like, trauma from previous experiences, right, that you can play off of, that just add a little bit of depth to the character, right?
Yeah. They do have high wisdom, but mediocre intellect.
Yeah.
So you could definitely play up I know you're going to do this thing, but I'm going to do a stupid thing to stop you from doing that thing.
They tell you you're stupid.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, and imagine they are protecting, like, your healer of the group, and then shit pops off, and they pull you out, and so you are out of range, or you can no longer heal one of your party members, and they die.
Yeah.
And it's because... And they don't get it, because they're like, well...
You're alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, everything else doesn't matter. And so then there's, like, that whole, like, battle going on there, too.
Yeah. It's very true. All right, exploration clues. They're there. I don't think that they're spectrally and they're blue.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think...
They're hiding in the closet of the bedroom.
I think it's definitely, like, it's going to be a straight up given if they've got an oath to protect a specific lineage or something along those lines. I think you could definitely drop, some clues and things like that if they're sworn to protect, like, some sort of sacred item within a sanctuary or something along those lines. I mean, it really is just any sort of oath that they could take in real, in life.
Yeah.
They're going to try and fulfill. So I feel like sky's the limit when it comes to what they could be, kind of bound to and that sort of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, clues, that sort of stuff, yeah, it could just be that they're there, but, they could look, just based off of, like, you might not know that they're specifically a Foresworn right away.
Right away. You probably don't know what it is that their goal is.
Yeah.
Right? So the clues would be, in the exploration, would be figuring out what it is they're protecting. Or
exactly.
what their goal is in life, right? So.
Yeah.
But what about you, Casey?
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be hiding, trying to ambush you.
No.
Like, if you walk into where they reside, they're going to be like, hello.
What's up?
Yeah. Like,
Hey, man.
what are you here for?
Yeah.
What's going on? And they're probably going to interact before they attack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
100%.
figure out the thing. But then if you are in a direct opposite their goal, then, like, it is what it is. There's no convincing them otherwise.
No, for sure.
Yeah, you are either going to be an ally or you are going to be something that they have sworn to make sure doesn't happen.
Yeah. So you're not going to get that much exploration and clues unless you're searching for a specific one and all you know is they're a ghost. Yeah. And so then you go in somewhere and see, and if there's lots of ghosts, it's like, oh boy, okay.
Yeah. I think a good exploration clue, even you can play it into the role playing, is that if you're looking for a specific ghost, maybe they came from a certain era, so they're wearing a different kind of armor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it's ancient armor.
Yeah.
And it's okay, well, there's this kind of bluey spectrally person standing here, and they're wearing the armor of their ancestors. So clearly this is the person we're looking for.
Right, yeah.
So that can kind of be a clue as to what family they belong to, or do they belong to this area. Yeah. They'll have an emblem, or we always say when we meet someone, do they have a sigil on their fucking...
Totally.
In L5R, it's what moon are they wearing? Just a symbol of what kingdom they came from, right? So that would be a good clue to where they came from.
Yeah.
Right? So
could also reverse it, and you could, they could be the clue as well. You are on a quest to find something specific.
Yeah.
You don't know what the something specific is.
No.
Yeah,
but you know that there's something guarding it. Mm-hmm. That's the only thing that you have.
And we've kind of spun it, I think, in some other Undead we've talked about, where perhaps their goal is to wait somewhere for a specific person or a specific family, person from a family to come.
Yeah.
And so then they wait, and they might wait generations. And then it's like, you are the person I've been waiting for.
Yeah.
And then whatever they wait for happens.
Exactly. Yeah.
Can they die, or do they rejuvenate?
So they rejuvenate after 3 days, or I think
after they fulfill their duty, they just...
it's 3 days or 1d10.
Yeah.
3 days or 1d6.
Got you. 1d6 days or whatever.
1d6 days.
Okay.
Average 3 days. They'll rejuvenate. They have all their hit points back. All their hit points back and things like that, and they're just business as usual.
Okay. So then when we move on to combat, my idea here is that like they would have no care about their own physical body as long as they're protecting or doing what they need to be doing.
Yeah.
So they're like, I'm going to come back, but if my job is to keep this safe, I'm just going to keep trying and keep trying and keep trying, even if it kills me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I mean, it's kind of one of those things that it could spur the ire of them as well, though, because if they're specifically guarding an object and their goal is to always have this object in this one spot. You kill them, they're gone for 3 days. You've GTFO'd out of that spot. You've taken that item the item.
It'll be
you now have him on your ass to be like, excuse me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Can you please bring it back?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because these guys have got the wisdom. Like, they're like, okay, and the strength to back it up.
And like I imagine that they would have like a natural draw to whatever it is. Like they can't not. Yeah. Like just like if they're protecting someone, it's like we are drawn to that person. Yeah. We're drawn to that item. Yeah. It's like it follows
they're gonna
thing.
know. They're gonna know almost
like
kind of like how the Revenant always knows where its target is.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. Like I would feel like they would definitely have some sort of connection to their oath.
Intuition. Let's say we do. Yeah. They do.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. Cool. Any other final thoughts on those little guys? No?
No.
Cool. All right, so I'm going to go on to one last fun little weirdo. We're not going to go into great detail about it. It's just one that I want to mention because it's another kind of like additive to our theme that we have going on here, and that's called the Dread Warrior. So these are found in the Yawning Portal and are very specific creatures used by the Red Wizards to act out their bidding as magical familiars. They have psychic links to them, like the Red Wizards have psychic links to them so they can feel and see what they're doing with their senses so they can guide them around to do what they need them to do. Stat-wise, they are a little tiny CR of 1, but with some neat little things about them. So due to being warriors, obvi they are kind of armored up, so they have an AC of 18. Their stats are below average, other than their strength, which is a +2, and a con of +3. What is neat about them is that they have what's called Undead Fortitude, which means that if they are reduced to 0 hit points, which their pool is not that large, it's only like 40, they do make a con save, and if they save, they only drop down to 1 hit point. So they can keep coming back and keep coming back alive. Unless it is with radiant damage. If they are hit with radiant damage and they die, they are poofed. They do have a multi-attack with a battle axe or a javelin, so they are very much not built to kill you. In my mind anyways, they are more built to fight for their own survival, to finish whatever deed it is the Red Wizard wants from them. It's like the Red Wizard has powered them enough to be like, no, you can fight if you need to, and you can protect yourself if you need to, but your job is not to fight. Your job is to do my bidding and do my deeds. Yeah. Right?
And what size are they?
Medium.
They're still medium. Okay.
Yeah, I just keep calling them little guys because they're just peons, you know what I mean?
Totally.
Yeah, there's nothing overly frightening and scary about them. I feel like they would almost be like dressed in like a Red Wizard's... I feel like if you're in a community where they are like known, they've got little Red Wizard cloaks that they're running around in, doing their jobs and doing their biddings and like just doing their mundane jobs of delivering their mail and like...
So they're VV from Final Fantasy.
They're VV, that's how I'm picturing it.
They're VV from Final Fantasy.
Just running around doing random shit. But yeah, nothing to be afraid of in my mind. But yeah, that kind of takes us to the end of our main conversation here, but...
So, on a scale of 1 to 10, using our fantastic girl math, how would you rank these creatures as a part of the undead landscape in the D&D 5th edition? So, Revenants.
They don't scare me with that brass tacks. Like, they just don't. Like, I mean, and they've been around for years. I feel like they exist in our real world, to be honest with you. It's just, I feel like there's people in this world that just act like that. Yeah. Don't scare me. I'm going to give them like a 4.
Unless you beef them up with some, like, customization.
Yeah.
3.
Yeah, I was thinking 3 as well. Like, as written, a 3.
Yeah.
You could definitely oomph them up.
Yeah.
Give them some personality.
Yeah. Give them a little spice, you know?
Yeah.
But as is, boring as fuck.
Yeah.
Sword Wraith Warriors.
I could kick one with my boot. I'm going to give it a 4.5.
if I ever remembered what I rated skeletons and zombies, these are maybe a tip above that. Just a tip. We'll say 5.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, fair.
Okay, well, I'll split the difference. I'll go for a 4.
4? All right. It's fair.
I would say standalone, yeah, you could definitely, they're a one punch.
Yeah.
But
If you're fighting 30 of them,
Yeah.
if they are in a horde
mentality might be a little bit frightening.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would bump it up to probably like a 9.
Yeah. I'm thinking kind of going,
That just screams
through.
dogpile grappling.
And honestly, I would say psychological factor on them as well with the whole, because we've made it canon now, they have the heartbeat.
It's true.
Yeah.
The heartbeat's there.
The heartbeat's there. So the psychological factor of you just lying in bed and you're in and you see the red glow and you hear the dun 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 of like the horde of these.
Yeah.
I'm probably not going to feel super cozy.
Yeah.
Not going to be great.
That's fair. Yeah, and their hit point pool is similar to the Dread Warrior, but significantly less than the Commander. So
Yeah.
I forget what the Revenant was at. It was over 100 though.
Yeah,
I think the
Revenant
Commander
was
and
like-
Revenant were similar.
Yeah, they were like
hit pool.
140-ish.
I think
Yeah.
it was like 142 or
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Swordwraith Commanders.
Out of hilarity, because I really want to play
Like Barbosa.
like a Barbosa mundane
Yeah.
like
That would be
commander.
fun.
Just.
Out of neatness, I'm going to give him a solid 8.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're a good bump up.
Yeah. I would agree with that as well. The Foresworn.
You bore me. 2.
Out of an annoyability scale.
On is
Right?
it annoying or not?
See, like on a threat scale.
On a threat scale, like a 2.
Yeah.
On a how annoying can you make this?
Solid 10.
100%.
As how much can I piss off by dropping an NPC that's a ghost? 4.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And Dread Warrior.
Adorable.
Yeah. They're a 10 on the adorable scale.
God.
These adorable little like red wizards just running around. Yeah.
I'm uninspired by them, too.
Yeah. Out of inspiration, 0. Adorableness, 10.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. All right, so now it's time to close the crypt on this part of our conversation on the Undead in D&D 5th edition. Stay tuned next time when we move on to a kind of monster that is very, very close to my heart, the Death Knight.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the It's a Mimic podcast. If you'd like to support us, we have a donate button on our website, www.itsamimic.com. And if you'd like to discuss what you've heard here today, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and at r/itsamimic. For other episodes on other kinds of monsters, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thanks again for listening to It's a Mimic, where you never know what you're going to get.
Nailed it.
Ghost lovers.
Does anybody have an idea for a cold open for this one? Do we do cold opens for Undead?
No, we never have.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Cool. Sorry,
So
Adam.
they're free. Are we supposed to? They're not really.
I don't know, man.
Oh yeah, there always is.
I just work here, okay?
Oh.
What's up?
The one time he put me in for a cold open, I did not see it, and so I sat down with him. He's like, "So what's your cold open?" I was like, "Who? What? What is that?
What?
What does that mean?"
What? I usually always see it right before I'm about to start recording, and I start Googling shit. I'm like, what's a weird question I can ask about this?
I'm like, "Oops."
Yeah. I don't have any dice to roll.
Fuck, Megan. You had one job.
Whose house is this?
House.
Give me a second. Let me get the
They're
box.
not even in the room.
Well, they're
My
in.
God.
I organize my house, okay? They're in their spot.
I was even thinking, I was like, I should bring dice. Didn't bring dice.
Never bring dice.
Should have brought my 5-pound bag of dice.
The amount of times I've forgotten my dice until the first roll when we're recording online, though. All the time.
Stickers.
Yeah, they're my level up stickers from Adam. Oh. Whenever we level up, we get stickers.
The book that I dove into, which is Mordenkainen's Presents Monster. Oh my god. And you got through the intro without fumbling.
That was impressive.
We only had one beer, guys.
Next on the docket, the Foresworn. So the Foresworn are spectral embodiments of former... no, we're going to redo that.
Yeah, man. And speak up.
Oh, and speak up?
And
okay.
speak up.
So I didn't touch base in this, but the art so the book that I was referencing was the Monstrous Monstrous Compendendum, Volume 2, Dragonlance
You mean
Creatures.
compendium?
Compendium! Strike that!
It's not just me struggling with book word names right today.
My brain was like, what is that word? We're going to strike that.
It's an Ohio thing. Don't worry about it.